Hi everyone, it's Tonya Gibbs, and today I want to share with you a watercolor card that I've created using some watercolor pencils. I've recently been traveling, taking my son to college, so I've been kind of away from the YouTube community for quite a while. And while traveling, I did some watercolor cards in the car. So I thought today I would share with you a process video of how I created the look that is found in this card. So let's go ahead and get started. For my travel kit, I pre-cut some card panels. This is just normal everyday 110-pound cardstock. I'm taking a set of watercolor pencils. These are actually from General, and they're the Kimberly brand of watercolor pencils, and I'm using the yellow to create this sort of leafy pattern around in a semicircle or in a circle. And then I came back in the offset areas, I added another layer towards the center, and now I'm adding a third layer in the center as well. And each one of these petals is going to have a different length to the petal shape. Now I'm coming back with the orange colored pencil, and I'm adding just some strokes in the center of each one of those petals. And whenever I wet these two colors are going to blend and give me a really neat looking effect. You can see how simple this is, and like I said, for the car I was just keeping it super simple. Then I'm just taking a watercolor brush. This is actually a brush I think by Ranger, and I've just added a little water to it, and I am starting at the center point of the petals and just blending outwards with sort of a flicking motion, and that what I'm doing is I don't want to completely saturate or blend these colors, and in fact I want them to stay independent colors, but I just want the colors to fill in the white space a little more. So for the center, I just grabbed out the brown version of this pencil and just scribbled a little circle there in the center, and then right in between the yellow and the orange, I'm now coming back with the orange pencil and adding a little more shadows there towards the center of the flower. And again, just drawing straight lines is what I'm basically doing, and then taking the water brush and blending it out. And then I've also taken that water brush and in a circular motion worked through the browns. Now I want this to kind of dry a little bit, and then I can come back and add more details. So if I'm going to move on to where the leaf shape is, I'm just scribbling out that leaf, and then I'm going to take that water brush and add a little water there to saturate that leaf area, and then come back with the dark green pencil and just scribble some lines in there. Now when I use the watercolor or the water, it activates the watercolor in the pencil and helps to blend those colors out. And again, I'm not really concerned if it is streaked or lined, because that just gives my leaf some texture, and it also offers a veining type look. Then I come back with the more olivey colored pencil and just adding a little bit more pigment there. Don't worry if you go outside the lines, you can totally fix that in just a few minutes. I think leaves are more interesting when there's a couple of different colors there, so I'm not really stressing it too much if you know, trying to get those two blended together. Now don't overwork this paper, it is not watercolor paper, so I want to move on to the other leaf, let that dry for just a minute before I come back and add any more color to it. Following the same exact procedure here for this other leaf, and you can see how something just this simple can make really a very interesting pattern. Very simple flat cards, easily mailed, or watercolor cards like this typically make a fantastic opportunity for you to give a gift to someone. You can make some specialty note cards that they could then share with someone else. So keep that in mind with the holidays coming up. Now, since the sunflower has had a chance to really dry, I'm coming back with my black watercolor pencil and adding a few little circles there in the center of my sunflower, and that's going to give some more depth and shadowing. So now I'm just going to add some more green to those leaves and just pull out that color, add a few more shadows, maybe a couple of veins here and there, and you know, just continue to add a few little details here and there. The best advice I can give is don't overwork the paper. Allow it to dry between each set. And where I have the yellow, notice I allowed that yellow to completely dry before I added the green in the next area next to it, or else they will blend together. This is watercolor. And again, a nice sturdy watercolor paper rather than generic cardstock would probably give this card a better look because it would actually add the texture that you're after, but it would also allow for moisture a lot better than the cardstock does. But for this purpose, for just cards, I'm okay with it. So now I've pulled out that light blue color, added a little bit of pigment around, and I'm going to use my water brush to blend those colors out and offer just a nice wash of blue so that my flower is grounded and has a presence there on the card. And just continue to add layer after layer until the color you're after is achieved. And if you stick towards the base of the leaf and then drag the color out into the other area to wash, you'll end up with that nice shadow around your leaves. And then also, if you notice, I've added pigment there to the center of the flower petals, between the flower petals, and then that also offers a nice little shadowed area. Now I'm coming back with my heat gun, and I'm just going to heat set that really well and make sure that all of that pigment is good and dry, or all of the moisture is good and dry. And now I'm just coming back with another yellow pencil and adding a few more flicks of color just around the edges. They had gotten a little too washed out and I wanted them to be very sharp. Now I'm coming back with the red pencil, and this time I'm just going to draw some veins into my sunflower, and you can really see how that red is a nice contrast against the yellow and the orange, and just offers that little bit of depth and texture that we needed in the flower itself. So again, just flicking lines out throughout the petals, and then taking my water brush and very lightly pulling those veins forward to the tips of the petals. And I really want my concentrated color there towards the center where the brown area is. I want it to feather out and be lighter towards the tip of the petal where the highlights are. Now I'm just going to heat set that really well, get it good and dry, make sure I flip it over and dry it from the back side. A lot of moisture has been added to this card, and I want to eliminate as much warping as possible. Now, since I'm not using a really sturdy, good quality cardstock here, I've decided to go ahead and cover the back of this panel with some foam adhesive completely, and this is going to help it to, as it dries, it won't warp nearly as bad, and it'll look really clean on my card surface. Now I'm going to take a Uniball pen. I love this pen, guys. This pen will actually write over your gelatos as well, but this is the Uniball Impact 207 by it's a Signo Uniball, and I am going to do a little bit of hand lettering here, just a really simple thanks. If you are not comfortable with this particular step, then I would suggest grabbing out a stamp and stamping the word thanks on there, or whatever your sentiment you would like to use. I'm just really enjoying the look of hand lettering these days. I've been practicing quite a bit. That's another great thing for you to practice while you're traveling, because you can get a little small journal and just practice in the journal. So lately you've been seeing me do this quite a bit. Now my sunflower panel is actually cut at 3 3/4 by 5 inches, I believe. So now I've taken a piece of yellow cardstock that I've cut 1/4 of an inch larger, so it's 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and now I'm just going to adhere that straight to that yellow. And I love how that yellow border just really pops my sunflower, and it brings it really to the foreground even more. It just really gives a nice border. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a 5 1/4 by, or 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 inch card, and add that panel there. Now, just before I add that panel, I did decide to go ahead and add a little bit of this Liquitex iridescent bright gold ink splatters to my sunflower. I just thought that'd give it a really nice mixed media touch too, so just splattering that around, and I want to make sure it's really good and dry before I pick it up and add it to my card panel. That just keeps my white on my card panel very neat, so I don't have to worry about the splatters contaminating my card base. So here is what the card looks like on the front. Now I've decided that I want to go ahead and do the inside of the card. So following the same format, we're just going to go step in 1/4 of an inch with each panel. I had a piece of that yellow left over, so I've added it to the inside. And now I'm coming back with another piece of the white cardstock, and I'm just going to draw a smaller version of that sunflower here in just the corner of that cardstock. Sorry, I'm a little out of frame, but I do realize it and pull my card up in just a few minutes. So again, the same flicking motions with the pencils, the colored pencils, just adding a little more of that yellow just around. And then I'll come back with the orange, flick the lines around just like I did on the front. This is just a little bit smaller, so I don't have to have as many details. And then you'll see me come back with the yellow and add a third line there. And then I'm going to come back with that water brush and just work that pigment out. Again, sticking with the flicking motions and really wanting to feather those petals out. They don't have to have the shape of a petal per se, but the flicking motion just gives the illusion of the petals. So now I'm going to come back with my green and add the darker green first, and just freehand some leaves there that kind of match the leaves that are on the front. They were a really wide leaf. And then I'm going to come back with the watercolor brush and again just fill that in. The water just helps to blend it out a little bit. With these water brushes, I am keeping them somewhat dry. They do have water in them, but I am not pressing the water through the barrel. I'm keeping it kind of dry. Since I'm not using watercolor paper, I don't want this to buckle too much. Then come back with the brown in the center and then add a little water, and then I'm going to come back with the orange and just flick some more of that orangish, actually this is the red color I think, right through the center of that daisy. And you can really see the difference here between where I go in and I add a little bit of that black on top of the brown. You can really see how the black just helps that to pop. And then come back with the yellow and blend it out one more time just to give my petals a little more sharpness. Once I have everything blended the way I want, I'm going to pull out that pen again and just doodle a little line around the border, and that's going to give me a nice edge to the inside panel of my card. I'm going to make sure that as I draw that around, it looks like the line is tucked in behind the flower, and it just makes the inside of your cards look even more interesting. Now I want to take that heat gun and make sure that I get that good and set and really nice and dry before I adhere this down on the inside of my card, because I don't want the watercolor to bleed onto my card panel. So here's our card for the day, and here's a beautiful shot of the outside of the card. Keep in mind too, as these watercolor pencils dry, they do dry a little lighter than what you see on the physical card, so don't be afraid to get it a little dark. This is the inside of the card. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, leave me a thumbs up and share this with a friend. I can't wait to see all of the sunflower cards that you guys create based on this tutorial. So if you do happen to create something, please hashtag following Tonya Gibbs in your social media outlets, or tag me on Facebook so I can see your projects. I love to see what you guys create based on what I created. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me today. I will put links down below to my blog that has all the products linked up for you, as well as links to all my social media outlets. So thanks a lot for hanging out.